Okay, today we're going to go over projecting income. So we've already done our current income sheets and balance statements, and now what we're trying to figure out is 1 year from now, 3 years from now, 5 years from now, and at retirement, the year before we retire, how much money are we going to make each year? So if we take a simple example, right, the students were in school, and you're making $1,000 a month. Maybe you're a server, or a hostess, or some other job that you're working, you're making $1,000. For your project, you use whatever income is yours. If you're making $800, you use $800. If you're making $2,000, you use $2,000. So we're going to project how much we're going to make 1 year from now, 3 years from now, 5 years from now, and at retirement. All of you have to be in your full-time career by year 5 here, okay? If you plan on being in your full-time career in 3 years, that's fine. If you're in your full-time career now, that's fine. But you have to be in your career by year 5. So I'm still maybe living at home, right, going to school full-time, and so a year from now, I'm going to get wage growth. On average, if we just kept pace with inflation, our wages are going to go up 3% per year. And so wage growth is K. Maybe you know you're going to get a $2 an hour bump. And so you're going to go from $1,000 to $1,200. So you don't need to do this calculation. But just give me 1 or 2 sentences explaining you know you're going to get a raise to $1,200. Okay? But this person doesn't know that. We're going to go with the assumption of a 3% wage increase. And they're going to be in their full-time career 5 years from now. What I want you to do is to research how much your job actually pays. And so I need you to go to like salary.com, monster.com, Bureau of Labor Statistics. Maybe you know some websites or some studies because that's a field you want to go in of how much it pays. I need you to do that research, and I need you to give me how much that career pays. That's something you need to know. So we're going to assume here that this person is going to maybe be a police officer. So they've done the research, and starting police officers right now make $60,000 a year. Once you're in your career for 10, 12 years, right, you make $95,000. When you go onto these websites, typically they'll give you an average starting salary. They'll give you a salary after you've been in the profession for 5, 10 years. They might give you information on if you're in that career for 15 years, how much it's going to be. So we're going to start at the low wage, obviously, and this is my mid-wage. I also need to find out what wage growth is. So I'm going to do some research, and while I'm doing this, it should tell me what my wage growth in that industry is. Some industries aren't growing at all, like construction. If you're looking at basic labor in construction, cleanup people, lath and plastering, helpers doing roofing, those jobs, the wage growth is about 0. There's just not a lot of demand out there. If you're going into the printing industry, because of the huge technological changes in the printing industry, wages are very depressed. The field is shrinking and shrinking and shrinking, and so that's something you need to know before you go into that field if you want to. So I'm going to do the research, and I find out that wage growth is 4% per year. Now, a lot of times what you'll see is a 5-year projection. And so they might say it's going to grow 20% over the next 5 years. So if wages are up 20% over the next 5 years, we're just going to take this to get K, and we're going to divide 5 into 20 to get 4. All right? So that's just kind of a down and dirty simple number. Because of some compounding, that's not the exact number, but we're going to get as close as we can. So when I figure out how much money I'm going to have, I take $1,000 times future value of $1, K equals 3, N equals 1. Our factor for that is 1.03, which means a year from now, I'm going to anticipate I'm going to make $1,030. 3 years from now, $1,000 times future value of $1, k equals 3, n equals 3. My factor is 1.0927, which gets me $1,093. All right? Now, I've done the research to be a police officer. Its starting salary is $60,000 right now. But 5 years from now, when I go into that field, it's not going to be $60,000 because wages will have grown. And so we're going to look up. We already looked up in the wage growth is 4% per year. And so I look at future value of $1, k equals 4, n equals 5. My factor is 1.2167, getting me a starting salary of $73,002. So that's my anticipated starting salary. Also, when you go back and do these sheets, make sure one thing. Most people have calculated this on a monthly basis. They've done their income statements and balance sheets monthly. So this is a monthly number. This is a monthly number. This is an annualized number. And so if you're going to keep all your expenses monthly, and we have to keep our income monthly. So we're going to take this and divide by 12 to get a monthly income number. I'm using $95,000 here because police officers with, say, 20 years experience are making $95,000. And so this is more a better representation of when I retire. So I'm going to take $95,000 times future value of $1, k equals 4, which is our growth rate, n equals 30. And that factor is 3.2434, getting me an income in my last year before I retire of $308,123. All right? Couple things just to go back over to make sure that we got this right. For these years up here, I do not need you to do research on what your part-time job is, how much more servers are going to get made, et cetera, et cetera. We can just use the inflation rate. That's fine with me. Inflation, I'm thinking, is going to run about 3%. Down here, once we're in our full-time career, you must calculate wage growth. If you cannot find wage growth, you can also make an appointment with the librarian here on campus and come and have the librarian help you do research on wage growth. A lot of information out there. Do not confuse wage growth with employment growth. Certainly you want to know what the employment growth in the industry is. I want to know whether it's growing, shrinking, growing faster than average, slower than average. That is really important. But if there's 2% employment growth, that's not the same thing as 2% or 4% wage growth. So don't mix those two. It's very important not to. So then I come down here, 308,000. This is obviously an annualized number also. If I want a monthly, I'm going to divide by 12. I've also used here, the last year before retirement, an N of 30. N for this calculation is when you are going to retire because this is your plan. If you're going to retire in 20 years, use an N of 20. In 25 years, an N of 25. If you're retiring in 40 years, then you're going to use an N of 40. Okay? So hopefully this isn't too much work. Just keep it organized and make sure to substitute out the numbers over here for your numbers and make sure to substitute in your wage growth in your industry. Thank you.